Fairbanks Focus is a locally produced public affairs program created in part by University of Alaska Fairbanks, KTVF, and Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation.
Thanks for joining us here again at Fairbanks Focus Alaska View. I'm Annette Pearson, and today I am joined by Dallas Ferguson.
Yes.
Of the Nanook hockey team. And now are you the head coach, the assistant coach?
Yeah, I'm the head coach. I've been this is my 5th season, and I was a assistant coach for 4 seasons, and then I actually was a student athlete from 1992 to 94.
Oh, wow. And did you play hockey too?
Yeah, I played for the Nanooks. So.
Well, I don't know if I've ever lived in a town that's more excited about hockey than Fairbanks, Alaska.
Yeah, no, it's what kind of drew me to the program. I mean, obviously, being recruited back in the 90s, I'm originally from Alberta, Canada, and Coach Lucia and Coach Lorien were out watching us in the middle of the winter out there, and talked about Fairbanks, and got the invitation to come up here and go to school. And obviously, it's a great community. I think for me, being from a small town, I think it had some of those qualities. Obviously, quite a bit larger than my 5,000 population that I grew up in, but real good community. And now that I'm obviously older and coaching, I got 2 young girls, and it's a great place to raise our children.
Awesome. Well, I love Fairbanks. Like I said, it's a hockey town. And so where are you from in Canada?
I'm originally from a town called Wainwright, Alberta, which is kind of a little bit ironic with Fort Wainwright being here. But I grew up there my whole life. I grew up in Wainwright, a small town, about 5,000 people, farming community, oil. Is a big industry there as well, and then played my junior hockey about 2 hours or an hour away in a town called Lloydminster, Alberta, that plays in the Alberta Junior Hockey League. And again, kind of nothing has really changed. We still recruit out of those leagues and in that program, but at the same time, that's where I last was in Canada. I've really kind of been in Alaska since 1996. When I was done playing, I continued to play professionally for 4 years, and then spent my summers in Alaska. And obviously, I get back home to see family and friends, and quite often. But at the same time, Alaska's pretty much been my home since 1996.
Nice. And so, who did you play for professionally?
Well, I played in the minor league. Minor leagues in the East Coast Hockey League, and then at the time it was the West Coast Hockey League. I played with the Anchorage Aces for 3 years, and then I as well played out in Richmond in the East Coast Hockey League, which is now all kind of the same league. And I actually even had a kind of a cup of coffee, if you will, over in Germany. So I had a good experience. I still enjoyed the game. I think when you leave college hockey, you have the aspiration that you're going to play in the National Hockey League, and hockey's going to be your life for the the rest of your life. And ultimately, you get out into the real world, and you realize that there's a lot more going on out there, and it's a competitive market to get yourself to that level. But I enjoyed playing, and even until this day, I still enjoy getting out there and playing. And even though coaching is a little bit different, I still skate with our alumni when I can throughout the season. But it's kind of why I do what I do now. It was the experience that I had here as a student athlete, the people that I met, both in our campus community as well in the community in Fairbanks, and the teammates that I had during that time really made for a real great experience. And I really appreciate the value that college athletics gives to the student athletes, not just as an athlete, but as a person. The development that you go through for those 4 years that you're here, it's amazing to see where the guys come in as freshmen and what they leave as seniors, degree in their hands, contributing on the ice in the community, and just to see them grow as people, to prepare them for the next step in their life.
Well, and I always think that being able to do sports in college and then have that degree later, of course, just makes you that much more marketable in the future. Because, like you said, not everyone can make it to the leagues, and to have a degree, of course, will certainly get you a lot farther.
I think that's the thing. I mean, I know, like, even it's kind of progressed to where there's certainly a value in getting the college degree and leaving here with your degree. It's a great accomplishment, and it's looked upon, valued quite heavily when you get out into the real world, whether you're applying for a job or whatever it may be. I know even, college or, professional teams ask that question, did they earn their degree? Because it says a lot, I think, about a person when they've been somewhere for 4 years and they've accomplished their goal, and I think you start to see that a little bit more that's a lot of why kids choose to play in the NCAA. Hockey has a different dynamics because you have an option when you're at a younger age to go play in the CHL, which is a major junior, is what we call it, across Canada and into the United States now, or you can go to the NCAA. And so these kids have some options when they're younger, and the fallback is going through the NCAA and earning your college degree is always one that a lot of times we win those recruiting battles based on the fact that you can play at a competitive level, develop as an athlete, but you're also going to develop as a person and get that education taken care of while you're developing as an athlete.
Well, and I'm sure of course, once you have that college education and that diploma, your chances of being hired or even maintaining a job of any sort just go up.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
We got to a level with our program now. Like we had our captain this year, got his undergrad completed last year.
Oh, nice.
And so his senior year here, he worked at his master's. He got his MBA. We'll be graduating with that this spring. Hats off to him. These kids are now not only just coming and getting their undergrad, but now they're working to get their MBA taken care of. And again, it's the intent that they have when they come here. I think it is a big emphasis of our program to remember that you are here as a student first and earning your degree, and not only just earning your degree, but really kind of using the process to develop and have a strong intent while you are here earning your degree, I think is really the value that you get out of it. I mean, you probably see it whether they're athletes or not athletes. Kids just kind of go through classes, check them off, and we really try and emphasize the fact that don't just be a passenger in your classes. Get in there and get involved, and it's only going to strengthen the education and the experience that you get here at UAF.
Well, and wouldn't you say the dedication that people can put into their education translates on the ice?
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't you say that people tend to be better hockey players?
Yeah, I think it's the attention that and the details that are necessary to be successful in the classroom, are real similar qualities that you need to have to be successful, at this level, at the Division I level. The level of play is very, very good, and there's a fine line between having success and not having success when you look at your season, the wins, the losses, those types of things, and these kids come here with an intent to get an education, but they're also coming here because they realize the level of play and how this level of play can help develop them to get them to the next level. And when you start looking and really getting into what is going to allow them to get to the next level, both in the classroom and on the ice, I think is the details. It's a kind of, they work hand in hand, and I think we have a very unique situation in Fairbanks at UAF because we do travel. Much more than any other college team in the country. And I think that in order to have success in the classroom and success on the ice, you have to be a good student because like you say, they both affect each other. If you're falling behind and not keeping up with assignments, papers, research projects that are due at the end of the year, all of a sudden when it comes that final 2 weeks of the semester and you're cramming to try and get it done, it's real hard on your brain just to get it done and get it done right, but it's also taxing on your brain when you have to come to the rink and perform. And we are in competitive athletics. I mean, we at the Division I level, we're very much about competing and executing and getting the results that we want. And and I think that that's important when we're recruiting. We're trying to recruit the best students and the best people possible because there is a strong correlation between what they're doing off the ice, in the classroom, and on the ice.
Well, and so have you played hockey your whole life?
It's kind of funny you asked that question. I was dropping my 8-year-old off this morning, and she asked me when I started skating. And I actually started skating when I was 2 years old. Oh. My grandpa had a slough out front of his farm, and there's a picture of my very first time on the ice. And so she was kind of comparing because she plays now, and it's kind of funny because she's like we got it down to when she started skating when she was 4. So, but that's where you start at an early age. I think it's Alaska is very similar to Canada in the respect of, hockey's kind of in the culture, and, you just kind of start at younger ages, and you're not playing competitively by no means, but it's just about being there. And my most fondest memories playing hockey were, out on my grandpa's slough or at the rink that our town built at the end of the blocks where, right after school you get out there and you play and you shovel the rink yourself and, you're out there for hours and, my mom or my dad would be calling, hey, time to get off the ice, come eat supper, come do your homework, and then you'd be right back out there. So, those are, some of the memories. I think that's where you really fall in love for the game. I think it's also where you really develop your skills is being out there and doing it on your own because you love what you're doing.
Awesome. Well, and of course, anyone who's lived in Fairbanks for a while knows all about the Governor's Cup and what it is. But for people who maybe are new to Fairbanks, can you share what the Governor's Cup is?
Yeah, the Governor's Cup, it's the Alaska Airlines Governor's Cup, and what it is basically it's UAF versus UAA. We compete against each other in all sports, and ours is called the Governor's Cup, where it used to be a series of 4 games where 2 there, 2 in Fairbanks, and then the winner, obviously, if it ended up a tie, it gets decided in a shootout. And, it's kind of gone back and forth, and it's got quite a history starting back in the mid-'90s. And we actually have the trophy in our office right now. We've won it 4 years in a row. And, it's kind of neat to look back because the Governor's Cup started when I was here playing at UAF. So we kind of have the very first year that it happened. And we won it in '94. And it's like anything with Anchorage and Fairbanks. It's very competitive. It gets very spirited on and off the ice as far as, the communities rallying behind the games, and the student support is unbelievable. This year, for example, we had I think to my knowledge there was 2 busloads of students that bus down to Anchorage for the Saturday game, and that's what really gets our guys really inspired, and that really is what the experience is all about. When you see that type of spirit coming from your students, coming from your fans that come down there to watch, it really gets you excited, and obviously it makes for a real special rivalry. And I think I've always said it's one of the best in college hockey, and the Anchorage Fairbanks. And fortunately for us, the Governor's Cup has stayed here 4 years in a row, and we just got done winning it for the 4th year. And we have we've had it happen twice where we've had a group of players come through from their freshman year through their senior year and win it all 4 years. So that was kind of special to our seniors, and it's kind of one of those things where the games are so intense, there's so much build up around them, and it's so exciting that we have to play our playoff series, start playoffs the next weekend, where we were hosting at Fairbanks. And it's kind of like that was, it's always one of those challenges, is that your emotions and your adrenaline is up here, and when you win it, you're there, and then you almost have to come down, and then you got to ramp yourself back up for playoffs. And anyhow, the Governor's Cup is just really special, and fortunately for us, right now we've got the cup in Fairbanks, and we certainly like to keep it here.
Well, and how is the season turning out for the Nuggets?
Well, we had a good season. I think that like any coach, you sit back and evaluate. We're in the spring now, and the NCAA tournament is starting this weekend. Actually, we didn't make the field. I think in the end we ended up 20th. So we were right at that cusp where up until Saturday we were kind of right there to make the NCAA tournament. So that's obviously one aspect of your season. Getting into that tournament, an opportunity to win a national championship is what we're always striving for. And then obviously this year, we ended up 17, 16, and I think 4 ties. I think we had a good season. It was interesting. We kind of, as a coach, you evaluate. We kind of had 4 phases to our season. We had the start, which we got off to a really good start. And then we had the last 6 games before Christmas weren't where we needed to be. I think we were 1-5-1, and then we had a really good start in January where we went 6-0, and then again we kind of went up and down a little bit. So I think we learned a lot. I think it was as far as the season goes, it was you always want to be playing in that last game, but then at the same time only one team wins it, and it takes a lot of things to go your way and a lot of effort and a lot of execution, and sometimes you need a little bit of luck for things to happen the right way. But I liked our group of kids this year. They were very strong leaders. They were good in the classroom. Every day was enjoyable to be around them, and certainly proud of their effort this year. And again, we're at that point now where the spring, and let's finish strong in school, and then let's get ourselves going and preparing, and training, getting ready for next year.
Awesome. And when does the season go from when to when?
Well, we'll start. It's basically through the academic year. We'll be back in school. I don't have the exact dates, but it'll be the start of September next year. And then our actual competition season doesn't start till October. So we'll play October through regular season will be through March. And then obviously you have your league playoffs, and then the NCAA goes right till the middle of April is when the Frozen Four will be. So, it's a long, tough, grinding season, but at the same time it's fun, and it's a great place to be a part of a Division I hockey program in Fairbanks and at UAF.
Awesome. Well, and if people want to get involved, get season tickets, where would they go to do that?
Yeah, I think that we'll start our renewals, and obviously part of our success as a program, we need the support, and you can go on to AlaskanAnnex.com to get your information on how to either purchase season tickets or to renew your season tickets. Those mailers will be going out, and it's a pretty obviously I think it's a great entertainment value in our community. I think the quality of the hockey, not only with the players that we have, but also the teams that come in every weekend to play here. You're seeing the next NHL players that play at this level. So I think there's tremendous value, and obviously I think it's a well-rounded package. I think we have quality people that do really well in the classroom and engage in the community and represent the Nanook hockey the way it's supposed to be represented.
Awesome. Well, and I thank you very much for coming on the show today and representing the Nanook hockey team yourself today.
Yeah.
It was great.
Thanks for having me. I should have brought the Governor's Cup. I think it's something that everyone likes to see, and I got over here, and I was when you brought up the Governor's Cup, I was thinking, man, I should have brought it so everyone could see it.
Put it right here on the table.
You wouldn't be able to see us. It's really big and it's really heavy, but it's certainly something we're proud of.
Cool. Well, thanks again, Coach Ferguson. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and that's going to do it for us. And next up will be me and Josh. Thanks for joining us today. I'm with Josh Collins. Thanks, Josh, for joining us today here at Fairbanks Focus Alaska View. And we're going to sit down and talk about the Gold Panners.
Yes, the Fairbanks Alaska Gold Panners.
Now, that's the baseball here in Fairbanks.
Yes, the #1 amateur league team in America. Oh,
wow. See, I didn't know that we were the #1 amateur league in America. How many teams are there in this amateur league?
There's quite a. It's not a league per se. Just a lot of amateur teams around the country. There's actually 6 teams in the Alaska Baseball League. There's us. There's the Chugiak Chinooks, the Anchorage Bucks, the Glacier Pilots, the Matsu Miners, and the Peninsula Oilers, which are from Kenai.
Oh wow! So there's a lot more baseball happening in Alaska than I think I even knew. I'm originally from Tucson, so baseball is huge there. And so here, of course, the weather doesn't always permit year-round baseball. So when can people actually go watch a baseball game here in Fairbanks?
Well, opening night this year for home at the Ground Memorial Park is June 16th. Okay. They are actually starting June 7th in California. They're going to have some local tryouts, and then they're going to go from there. They're going to play in the Barona Bash tournament in San Diego, California. Well, they'll face a couple of teams like the Oceanside Waves, the Catholics in Action. That's another big one. You see a lot of religious groups starting different things in action groups. Athletes in Action was another big one. They actually turned into the Matsu Miners, or the Chugiak Chinooks, sorry. But they actually became a group from that. So there's a lot of that happening around the area, and we're just one of them.
Oh, cool. So the ball players who play on this amateur league, are most of them from Fairbanks then?
No, most of them are from lower 48. We had a lot from UC Davis last year. I believe it was 3 of them. A lot from Midwestern. We had one from Minnesota who was our catcher. Great guy, Kurt Schlungen was his name. And then just from around the area, not local, but talented in the lower 48 baseball programs. They apply. We actually had one from Germany last year. His name was Enzo Mushik, and he came from Germany just to play with the Alaska Gold Panners last year. So we pretty much take anybody who wants to apply, and we do the interview process, and we do the tryout process, and then we go from there.
Awesome. So where do these people stay when they're here in Fairbanks playing ball?
There's actually an Adopt a Gold Panner program that we have, and if you want to be interested in signing up for that, you can contact Todd Dennis at todd@goldpanners.com, and you can get the information there on how to sign up for that. Usually you see a lot of the Gold Panners riding bikes to the field. Some of them are provided with cars. A lot of them do a lot of share rides, stuff like that. But there are families out there that love it every year, and we have repeats, and they hang out with their kids, they hang out with the families, they get to have fun on their off time.
So it's almost like sponsoring like an exchange student.
Kind of. You're sponsoring an athlete that you basically give them a place to stay, you feed them, give them other things. I know back in the day when the season was so much longer, now it's only about a month and a half, but it used to be 3 or 4 months where you'd have guys go out fishing, you'd have them doing a bunch of different stuff, hiking, things like that. But now with the Alaska Baseball League, the season's so much shorter, so there's not a whole lot of time. But last year we had a couple when we were in Kenai for a week go to the local Walmart and buy fishing rods and actually go off and fish down there. So they had some fun doing that. So
nice.
They get to have a little bit of recreation time.
Well, and get to see a little bit of Alaska since, probably a lot of them haven't ever been here before until they're repeating. But so what was your involvement with the Gold Panners?
2 years ago, I started out as an intern with the broadcasting. Last year, I did the pregame show, and I did the live stats, pointstreak.com. This year, I'm going to be doing video production, so I'm looking kind of forward to doing a lot of filming and editing with the team and getting to know the guys. That's, I think, the most fun part about my job is actually getting up close and personal with the guys and doing interviews and getting to joke around with them and have some fun with them and see where they go from there. We had a gentleman by the name of Mike Vaughn. He was a catcher 2 years ago, and he got drafted by the Florida Marlins. And It's nice to see his progression. He's playing for a minor league team right now, but just the progression of these guys and getting to actually know them and seeing where they go from there, I think that's the coolest part about the job.
That's pretty cool. I love baseball, but so tell me a little bit about. I think most people in Fairbanks, at least, when they hear Gold Panners, they immediately think of the Midnight Sun baseball game.
Yes, it'll be the 108th running of the WG and Eddie Stroker Midnight Sun game. Started off as a bar bet.
Oh, really?
Between the California bar and the Eagles bar, and it's been now 108. It'll be the 108th running of it. The Gold Panners have been in existence in the game for 54 years now. So we're going around almost half of them have been involved with the Gold Panners.
So the California bar and the Eagles bar, those bars that are still here in Fairbanks?
I could not tell you that for sure, but as I'm not an avid drinker, but I will say that it started out that far, and Eddie Stroker was an amazing man who was involved in it and just getting the publicity out, and it's just been one of those things that everybody talks about. ESPN ranked it the #1 thing to do for a baseball fan, so it was kind of a cool thing that happened a couple years ago. So
well, and it starts at midnight. Right?
It actually starts at about 10:30.
About 10:30, okay.
Yeah. And then they have at midnight they have the midnight pitch that somebody comes out, a representative, and pitches the Midnight Sun pitch. And they actually are doing something with the Fairbanks Midnight Sun Gold Panners, which is the league team, the city league team now. Those are mostly local players that play with the Gold Panners there, and they're doing something the night before. They have their own Midnight Sun game that they're doing right after the Fairbanks Gold Panners play. So there's two different teams, the Fairbanks Gold Panners and the Midnight Sun Gold Panners. So you have to differentiate the two. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and what day is the midnight game happening?
June 21st this year.
June 21st. So it's actually going to be on solstice.
Yep.
10:30. Well, and it's so cool because it's the idea of just like playing baseball all night, nothing shuts down because it gets dark.
Well, 2 years ago, we did have the first ever postponement of the Midnight Sun game, and it actually went into the next day. It was about 2 a.m. The umpires decided that it was raining, it was dark, and they didn't want any players to get injured, so we actually had the postponement of that game. So that was the first time in history that ever happened. So it's an interesting.
So you said that this whole thing, the whole midnight game, started off as a bet between these two bars.
Yep.
So was it the owners of the two bars that were betting?
I believe it was.
Do you know who won?
No, I don't. I have no idea.
And so this is the 104th?
108th
game.
Yes.
So has it actually been running for 108 years?
Yes, straight.
Oh, wow. So that California and Eagle Bar may very well be very, very long gone at this point, being 108 years ago.
It is an interesting, we do have a new coach this year. His name is Brian Harris. He's replacing the all-time winningest coach, Jim Dietz. And so that'll be an interesting segue into the new future of the Gold Panners.
So he's going to have to step up a bit, it sounds like.
Yeah, he's got some big shoes to fill. But Tim Kelly is coming back. He was the pitching coach last year. And Kevin Higgins, who was the hitting coach in 2009, he's coming back as well, too. So we have a couple of returning coaches that have that experience to know how to bring along Brian Harris and help him out in what's going on.
Very cool. And so do they travel all over the state?
Yes.
And all over the country?
They'll actually start out in
California, you're saying?
In California, then they'll go to Anchorage, play 3 games there, and then on June 16th, they'll come here and play their first home opener.
So how do the Gold Panners get prepared for training?
Well, they practice daily, pretty much before the games, in the mornings, but mostly it's we'll say on-the-job training. They're pretty much thrown into the fire. They do a lot of fielding, a lot of hitting. Then they just do basically their batting cage practice and a lot of physical calisthenics, stuff like that they do on their own. So I don't know how Brian Harris is going to be as far as being a hands-on coach, but it should be interesting to see how they'll adjust to a new coach this year and see what's going on with that.
And they do all of that training pretty much here in Fairbanks
Yes,
at the fields
at
and
the
stuff.
field. So.
Okay. And what kind of community involvement do the Gold Panners have or get to have? Or
they usually do an opening dinner at a local restaurant, and then whatever the families involve them in, that's how it is. They don't really have a whole lot of free time. It's basically one game almost every day. They'll usually have a day off for travel or anything like that, but other than that, they're playing baseball. So a lot of community time. I mean, they do some training with younger kids in some aspects sometimes. It just depends on the season and how it goes.
So if there's time allowed, sometimes they get to actually take kids out and maybe work with them a little bit too. Oh, cool. And what field are we talking about here in Fairbanks?
The Groudon Memorial Park.
Okay, and is that the one that's across from the Carlson Center?
The Carlson Center, yes.
Okay, awesome. And so if people are wanting, the 21st of June, there's an awesome baseball game happening around 10:30.
And you can purchase tickets online, goldpanners.com. You can purchase tickets right now for that. Last year, I believe it was 3,700 came out to the game. That was roughly the thing, but usually there's about 4,000 people that show up, and standing room only in some places. And I know there's a couple of groups. There's some from Michigan that come yearly, stuff like, and there's a couple other groups that come. I believe one year we had a gentleman from Istanbul purchase a couple of tickets and decide to come. So it's a big event, and it's nationally and worldly known.
Well, and I knew it was a big event, but I had no idea that it had been mentioned in Sports Illustrated or it was that huge. Well, thanks again for coming on.
No problem.
I'm really looking forward to this year's baseball season. Like I said, I'm a huge baseball fan. So, and there's nothing cooler than sitting at an all-night game. So thanks again for coming on the show, and we really appreciate you coming and talking about the Gold Panners. And tell the people out there just one more time where they can go if they want to buy tickets.
Goldpanners.com. And if you want to host a athlete for this year, contact Todd Dennis at todd@goldpanners.com.
And that's Todd with 2 Ds,
Yes.
right? Cool. Well, thanks again for joining us. And thank you all for joining us as well. I'm Nanette Pearson for Fairbanks Focus. I'll ask of you. We'll see you next week.